this meeting to order for the Monongalia County Board of Education, September 10th, 2024. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. When you want to do that?
Let's do it now.
Okay. Find my list here. I will entertain a motion to enter into executive session under West Virginia Code 6-9A-4 to discuss property and a personnel matter involving private information regarding an individual.
So moved.
Second. Okay. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We will be back subsequently.
Yeah, we're going to go next door so you all can stay.
You can
Yeah,
stay.
we're going to move. Yeah. Can I have Jen and Bob and Nicole? I'll come grab you.
Okay, we've returned from our executive session with obviously no voting or any of that going on. So we will move on. We have no delegations, so we'll move on again. Oh, what did I skip? Oh, the West Virginia School Service Personnel Day.
That's for you.
We're ready to.
Yeah.
Do I have it in?
It's right here.
I'll clear it up. Okay. This is a proclamation by Governor Jim Justice. Whereas the school service personnel are involved in nearly every aspect of education by maintaining buildings and grounds, preparing and serving meals, keeping school facilities clean and orderly, and assisting in the classroom, as well as providing administrative support functions, safe transportation, and many other specialized services. And whereas school service personnel are instrumental in West Virginia's responsibility to educate all students, and whereas these dedicated individuals serve the children of West Virginia in our public education system and have an important role in our non-instructional service to the education system, and whereas it is fitting we recognize the outstanding work these individuals do for this state, their communities, and the students enrolled in West Virginia schools. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Jim Justice, Governor of the great state of West Virginia, do hereby proclaim September 19th, 2024 as West Virginia School Service Personnel Day. Congratulations to all the school service personnel,
No doubt.
because we can't do it without them, that's for sure.
That's right.
All right. I think Courtney is up to bat on the, unless you want to announce.
We don't have any delegations, correct?
Okay, no delegations.
Yes, Courtney is here this evening to share some good news with you under the topic of assessment and accountability. I will leave things to you, Courtney.
Sure. So thank you for having me. Again, my name is Courtney Crawford. I'm the Director of Assessment, Accountability, and School Counseling. And I have the privilege today to talk to you about our assessment results for our summative assessments from spring 2024. So this is just a quick disclaimer so that the public knows as well that all of our assessment results are public on the West Virginia Department of Education website under the educational data link. And then you would go to Zoom West Virginia and you can view the assessment data that we're going to go over today. And what is included in this in these results is a combination of multiple assessments. So for our students in grades 3 through 8, they take the West Virginia General Summative Assessment. Our students who are in the 11th grade take the SAT School Day. And we also have a subset of students who are in our 1% population of special education who take what's called the West Virginia Alternate Summative Assessment. And so all of those scores are combined in the data that we're going to be looking at today. ELPA 21 is also an assessment that's included in our measures of academic progress. That's the test for English language learners, but it is not a component of the summative results we're going to look at. Okay, so this first chart is looking at the progress of Monongalia County students over time. And there's a line drawn in 2017-18 because that was the last year, or that was the end of the Smarter Balance Assessment and the beginning of our most current testing system. And so for 2024, our students performed at 57% proficient for reading and at 50% proficient for math. What I want to point out to you here is one, that we had an increase of almost 3% in our ELA results from 2023 to 2024, and our math results stayed pretty stagnant. Now, why that is important is because last year was the first year of that Third Grade Success Act, where we had a heavy emphasis on our English language arts curriculum, and so we can see that the work that our teachers put in really made a difference last year, and we saw that improvement. This year, we'll be focusing more on the math. We haven't had a new math adoption for this year, and so we're anticipating that we'll also see some improvement in that for next year. This is also important to point out because this is the 57% proficient is the highest proficiency we have seen in our ELA results in this current assessment series, and certainly since the pandemic year of 2020 2021 was the first year we tested after the pandemic. So nice to see some improvement. Nice to see that our students are continuing to grow on the assessment, and that is a major kudos to the hard work of our teachers. Looking at what that means for us across our grade levels, this is a representation of Mon County versus the state. So in these charts, Mon County is in green and the state is in blue. And you can see that our students in Monongalia County far outperform those the state averages across each of our grade levels. Okay. Another way that we can look at our data is looking at performance levels. So when a student receives their results, they receive a scale score and a performance level. And the performance level could be does not meet the standard, partially meets the standard, or exceeds the standard. And this is looking at a 3-year comparison of all students who participated in testing in Monongalia County and how they performed on each of those performance levels. What we would hope to see, and what we do see, is that we're seeing a decrease in our students at the lowest performance levels and an increase in our students at the highest performance levels. So over time, our students at the does not meet and the partially meets are decreasing in percentage, and we're seeing more and more students advance into that exceeds the standard level. When you look at the meets the standard, it's a little bit flat, and that's what you would expect because students are coming in from the lowest performance levels and going out into the highest performance level. Looking at our comparison with the state across performance levels, Mon County had the highest percentage of students in the exceeds the standards level across all of the districts for both ELA and math. So we're number 1 in exceeds the standard, and we also had the lowest percentage of students in the does not meet the standards level. The 3rd lowest for math and the 4th lowest in the state for ELA. So again, most of our students are performing kind of in that middle area, and it's that constant effort to get the students to move from partially meets into the meets the standard. Additionally, I want to specifically recognize that our 11th graders had the highest performance of students at the exceeds the standard and the lowest percentage in the state of students at the does not meet the standards level on the SAT school day. So the SAT, now this information is not on the public site, but this is some information that we're able to pull because SAT is a nationally normed test. We're able to look at this data and compare ourselves across multiple groups. So in addition to a scale score for the general summative assessment, students who take the SAT receive a college readiness benchmark, which is a predictor of how they would perform in their first year of college in an entry-level class. And so students in Monongalia County, our 11th graders, 30% of them met both the English and the math benchmark. 62% of them met the English language arts benchmark, and 31% met the benchmark for math. And you can see how that compares to not only West Virginia, but also U.S. test takers who tested in that same testing window. So just like with AP, where we were celebrating our comparison across the global test takers and state, or the nation, we see that as well for the SAT school day. This is also for the English language arts area. It's a 5% increase in the percentage of students who met the benchmark from 2023 to 2024. Now, granted, it's a different population of students, but still that's a significant improvement. And again, our 11th graders were number 1 in the state in all content areas on the SAT school day. And then important to West Virginia is the Promise Scholarship. So this is another comparison I like to do each year. We had 212 students become Promise eligible based on their performance on the SAT school day. Certainly there are other indicators they need to meet in order to qualify, but they have checked the box on their assessment results. 469 students met at least one of the indicators, and 43 met 2. So many students are close, but 212 are promise eligible at this point. And that's an increase of about 20 students from the previous year. So just some overall celebrations. Again, we had scores at the top of the state. If you're looking at rankings, we were number 2 in science and number 3 in both ELA and math. We were number 1 in the state, and that exceeds the standards level, which is the students performing at the highest levels. We were number 1 on the SAT school day. We had, again, about 30% of our students, 212, became promise eligible for the SAT school day. And we had growth across the board, so that's really, really exciting for us. Something else that's new, and this was in a message that went out yesterday to our students and families, is how our students are accessing their test results. So for forever, our students who take the SAT school day are access their results through the College Board dashboard. In previous years, they also received a paper report, as did all of our students in 3 through 8. This year, the state has stopped printing paper results. Paper results are still available to families if they request them, but all students are able to access not only their current year, but their historical results through the new Cambium Family Portal. And so a unique access code is being emailed to each family, and they will enter that for their student, and they'll be able to see, again, their current year and all previous years of the West Virginia General Summative Assessment results, which is pretty neat. And what's even more exciting is that next year, there's talk that students will be able to access that information in June instead of having to wait until August. So something that's a little more timely for families. And so what's to come? Certainly we don't rest on our laurels around here. So we are preparing for next year's assessment, or this current year's assessment. We are testing the PSAT in our students in grades 9 through 11. That's something that we choose to do in Monongalia County. And that will take place on October 23rd at all 3 high schools. And we do have a date set for our SAT school day, which will be April 9th. And then we have testing windows that are provided by the state for the alternate assessment and the West Virginia General Summative. Our specific school dates will be released sometime towards the end of October. Does anybody have questions?
Great job, Court, as always.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions for Courtney?
I do.
So before we, I want to preface for the board, not that I need to shield Courtney in any way. Please remember, Courtney's just presenting the assessment results. She's not necessarily the one down in the dirt trying to break down what we need to do to correct anything or to improve or things of that nature. She's part of those conversations, but she's just presenting tonight. So board members, if in the future there's a specific topic related to assessment results where you'd like to ask some more specific questions that are actually, down in the boots on the ground type questions, let us know, and we'll set that up for you so we have the right people here for you to ask those questions. But certainly Courtney will answer anything that she has the capability of doing this evening. So.
Great. Courtney, thank you for your presentation. Would you be able to go back to the slide that showed the math scores across the grades?
Sure.
Yes. So is that, and the green is Mon County schools. So is that normal that we see a decrease in math scores across those grades?
Yes.
Okay. And we are introducing the new math curriculum this year?
Correct.
And so, okay. I just wanted to make sure that wasn't a trend that we were just seeing this year. That's normal.
It seems pretty typical.
Okay, thank you.
And I should have brought in grade level comparisons from year to year or a cohort, and I didn't do that because there are grade levels that did show improvement from one year to the next, and that's not represented in what I put up here. So it's not that the same. It may be that individual cohorts are making improvements, but we're still seeing that kind of downtrend from.
I'm really curious about it, and I think you're making a really good point to see what a cohort does across the years, especially where they were at in 2020. And how old they were, what grade they were in 2020 when they had that break. And so that would be some really interesting data to see in a future meeting.
Yep,
I think that would be great.
And Dr. Morgan, it's interesting that you asked that question because I just read an article today in Edutopia that addressed exactly that issue. Schools that are seeing success, and this all across the country, schools that are seeing success in the early grades are not seeing that same success as students move up in grades, even into the high schools, not only in the math, but in the reading as well. And that's a national trend, that as our students get older and move up in grade levels, we're seeing less success.
That's interesting. Thank you.
Thank you, Courtney.
You're welcome.
As always, thank you for putting it all out there so that we and the public get a chance to see it and explain what we're looking at. So that's great.
Thank you, Courtney.
Okay, next we have school safety protocols, and I think our infamous Adam Hankins is going to address that.
I did, and if Mr. Hankins wouldn't mind just moving to the podium. Obviously, we're all aware of the tragedy that took place in Georgia here recently. It just brings to mind, again, for all of us, the importance of school safety, and as you all know, Mr. Hankins is our Director of Safe Schools, in addition to a couple other duties that he has with the school system. But I certainly think that is first and foremost his main duty for us, and he does a fabulous job with that. But I did want to give the board members an opportunity to ask Mr. Hankins any general questions that might remind our public all of the things that we do keep in mind when it comes to school safety and the protocols that we follow. Do keep in mind that we try not to get very specific in our questioning in these types of meetings, simply because we don't want to provide information to possible bad guys about the protocols that we do have in place and the things that we do to try to keep our schools, our children, and our staff safe. But in general context, Mr. Hankins can address any of your questions. So, board members?
I just thank you, Mr. Hankins, for being here. And I know we went into session. You had to sit here even longer, so I appreciate that. Always, number one, if there's anything going to keep us up, it's not test scores, or up at night, it's not test scores, it's not this, it's not that, it's the safety of our children. So I applaud you and your team for what you've done. Our girls have been in the Monongalia County school system, our girls being the Smith girls, for many, many years, and we have nothing but good things to share. It doesn't mean we ever let our guard down, right? There's a lot of people who wish they didn't leave their guard down when they did, and so I just applaud you and I thank you for that. And we'll continue to, the only thing I would say is and it's not even a question, I'm just going to comment and then I'll shut up. If you see something, say something, and that's to everyone in the whole entire county. You know, if you're even questioning that something is off, please bring it up. And we as a board, at least, I'm speaking for myself, but I know the board members and I know where their heart is, and we won't drop the ball. We will do what we need to do to.
And I know it wasn't a question, it was a statement, but ironically, we've had a situation recently in our county that's how it came to us. Every student in their Chromebook has a see something, say something app that they can report stuff. And most recently, one of the issues we had at the last board meeting that you guys were able to approve, or maybe that's tonight, I'm not sure, but it came through that app and we were able to work on something. So yeah, we always encourage not only our staff members, but students and family members to report stuff.
Thank you.
I just have one question, like what do you see on the horizon? What's like the most pressing thing that we should know as a board to say, hey, let's get on this? I mean, the obvious, beyond the obvious.
So, after the most recent incident in Georgia, obviously everybody's awareness becomes very heightened. So, I don't know that there's anything that's majorly that's coming out that's new to anything, but as Sean would say, I think you're always on edge when you're dealing with school safety, especially if you're paying attention into the newspapers at all or the media. I lose lots of sleep at night. I have kids in the school system as well, and so you always worry about those type of things. But I will say this will be my 12th year in school safety. We've worked very hard in the last 12 years to work on the prevention of a lot of things. I mean, from secure vestibules to registration entries into our schools to, meeting with staff members on simple basic things as keeping doors closed instead of propped open. So we put a lot of emphasis on that. We've spent a lot of effort on our ALICE training, but school resource officers, we've really worked hard on to make sure that they're involved with our weapons detectors and stuff like that. So we've put a lot of time and energy into prevention methods, right? And so response methods are always there, but we always hope we never have to use response methods, right? But so we practice a lot of those. Our SROs are part of those response methods as well. And that ALICE training is all about response methods. Well, how can I buy time? How can I do additional things in case there's an intruder in our building? But there's always, one of the things that I've talked to Dr. Campbell and Ms. Tallarico about is, they're in Georgia, they had all the teachers had those safety alert devices that were on lanyards around their neck, and it is getting lots of accolades because it was able to prevent and save a lot of students in that situation. And so that's probably the next thing that I'm going to start working with Ms. Tallarico and Dr. Campbell about, and Nicole, obviously, because it's a financial thing, but I think that's probably our next step in school safety to help not prevent, but in case of a response, that would help in a situation.
I think that's a great idea. Would you speak to that? Because the public may not know exactly what you're talking about.
With the lanyards?
Yes.
So each teacher in the school system that they were in has a lanyard. It's their ID badge, but it has a button on that, and on that lanyard, and when you push that button, it actually alerts law enforcement agency. It provides them a location of where that button was pushed from, and law enforcement agencies immediately are going towards that location. And in the scenario we're dealing with, I believe when that student returned to that classroom, they did not let him in, but a teacher started pushing that alert button, and then law enforcement responded very quickly and got to the school very quickly.
Get to that exact location.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So I think that's the next big thing for us that we could focus on to help in a response method.
One thing I will say too, over the last 20 years is how quick your response is, because we bring the officers on board, whatever, state police, FBI, whatever. Some of these instances, these are big name ones, but you deal with a lot of them that were squelched or, may or may not have been serious, but I've always been impressed how you attack it. It's serious. It doesn't matter what it is, it's serious, and until otherwise proven, and I think that's a testament to what you've been doing. And I love the lanyard part of it too, but it's just, I like the fact that it's not just us looking at the situations. I want the parents to be comfortable knowing that when law enforcement is brought in that quick, and we follow a lot of their guidance, well, all of their guidance, but moving along, so I think the public should feel comfortable that it's not going to be just overlooked and moved the other way.
Nice.
And we can't give out, Dr. Campbell said, we can't tell everything we do. I know a lot of parents will, well, what did you do about this? Well, you can't really say that, because then the bad guys will go, okay, we need to cover that step. So I appreciate everything that you do.
I definitely think that there is a need in our county right now to reassure parents that even though they might not be getting all the information they need, there is work being done. And I'm thinking about the incident from a few weeks ago before Labor Day, that there was the call to the MHS parents, and I know I was contacted by a number of MHS parents who wanted more information, but we couldn't give it to them. And so I think that parents need to trust that Mon County schools are doing what they need to do in order to prevent something from happening in our schools, even if they don't have the information that they want. Of course, every parent wants as much information as possible when it comes to the safety of our children, but we are prepared, and I think that's important. Could you also maybe, in talking about reassuring parents, could we maybe talk a little bit about the Yonder pouches and how that is actually not, how can I put it? A lot of parents are concerned, and I understand as a parent, if something were to happen, my first inclination is, oh, my child should have their phone. But how that is not, how we're not I can't think of how to phrase it, how we're not,
Why it's a bad idea.
yeah, we're not putting the safety of our children at risk by not letting them have cell phones in schools.
One of the things that came out in that the Georgia case that recently happened is kids had communicated with their parents, and parents had started inundating the school, and law enforcement wasn't able to do their job because parents were in the way. Actually, that's starting to come out. And so in this type of situation, that's why I think the safety alert badges would be very nice, because you don't need the phones to make an emergency. We have that button, and so that can alert law enforcement. But actually, the yonder bags would kind of save us in a little situation like this, because I'm a parent, most of us are parents, we want to know where our kids are. I get that, but it's also, we have to let the law enforcement do their job in a situation like that, and they can't be in the way either. So I think that it's kind of a benefit in a way to make sure that when the communication is appropriate to be sent out, then that can happen. And just kind of going back onto your comment a little bit ago about some people, they want to know more, and we can only provide them so much. With one of my kids are still in the school system, I get a lot of phone calls, are you sending your kid to school today? And I'm sending my school. And I would hope that the community would realize that obviously if there is a situation that's unsafe, we're not sending any kids to school, let alone my own personal kids. So, we when it comes to school safety in a situation like this, we value every child, not just our own, obviously. So, and again, they want more. We'll give them as much as we possibly can, but they do have to trust us, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right, and then when we're in a lockdown,
Yes.
and we have to be quiet,
Yes.
I don't want my life to depend on a notification from Snapchat.
Correct.
From
Yes.
a boss to alert the gunman to see where we are.
At a point then.
Right. Good point.
I've spoken to friends in law enforcement, fire department, and Mecca this week, and they've said the same thing. Like, one of them even said, you can't even guarantee you would have cell service in a situation like that. So it's a moot point at that point,
Correct.
and to have parents in the way disturbs the protecting the children and getting them out safely. So.
Well, it's the same thing. And it adds even more now. They've cut off cell phone service, and now I think, I can't get a hold of Chloe. Something's wrong. No, they've cut service, so we don't have to worry about that. All of this, the law enforcement that I spoke to as well, and the teachers too. The teachers have all said, in a time of crisis, the last thing no one's going to be listening to me. They're all going to be on their phones.
Yeah, but we all have a chip in our kid's head, and it might be in the yonder pals, but we can find them and know they're outside of the school at least, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and I think, this is not diminishing any parent's worry. And
That's
I
right.
really want to stress that.
Right.
Like, I understand, I completely understand where parents are coming from. I'm a parent myself, but I also think that we need to think about, when we think about, I think about fire drills, right? You're supposed to leave the building slowly and safely and not run over other people and orderly. And I think we do, if something were to happen, we're going to do the best we can to save our children and to put our children's safety first. And I really think that, there needs to be this trust. There needs to be this trust between us and the community.
That's right.
And that's lacking right now.
We are even very sensitive to it. So we do safety drills. We're required to do a safety drill at least once a year in every school. We do them twice a year in during the first semester and during the second semester. We are also very sensitive to the fact of what's going on in the community and when we hold those safety drills. Last year there was an incident that occurred in the community, I think it was in Maryland, and we canceled safety drills because we didn't want, everybody was heightened with their alerts of what was going on, so we canceled some until things calmed down so we could relax and enjoy, and focus on the drills we're doing. So we try to keep those in mind as well when we do the safety drills.
Thank you. That was good.
I think the whole thing is the public trust, and it's our job to earn that trust, and I
Sure.
think you're doing a good job of earning that, and hopefully they'll be very open-minded to what we're doing and why we can't say everything about everything. Anybody else?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Adam.
Thank you, Mr. Hankins.
Thank you.
Next, we have student expulsion.
Unfortunately, we do have one for you this evening. Superintendent recommends that the board approve the expulsion of 365 days for student 1-24, 1-2024-25 for a violation of safe schools policy.
Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Can't have a whole lot of discussion, but we'll open up if anybody has any.
I will say that the parents deferred any hearing.
That's it. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. Back up here. Consent agenda.
We do have, right before that, we have a accounts payable addendum. This is accounts payable addendum A, and I know Member Barry's going to recuse himself.
Yeah, as a member, as an employee of St. Francis de Sales Central Catholic School, I wish to recuse myself on this business item.
The computer keeps going fast forwarding. It's skipping past things. Okay.
You talk a lot.
Superintendent recommends that the board approve accounts payable addendum A as presented in your executive file.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? With none? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Guess I can use that.
Put a hole in the post.
I'll get one of these and mount it to the wall. Okay. Now we'll do the consent agenda.
Yes, we are to our consent agenda. Superintendent recommends that the board approve the consent agenda as presented this evening to include item A, expenditures exceeding $3,000. Item B, the payment of salaries and accounts payable. Item C are minutes. Item D are field experiences. Item E is the Inspire Energy Natural Gas Agreement. Item F is the National Health Career Association Agreement for Morgantown High School. Item G is the TNG Services Agreement. And I believe that's all we have this evening. I can't believe it's that short.
You haven't used the whole alphabet yet.
So I'll finish with item G.
Your recommendation is to accept, so I'll open it up for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Second. Any discussion? Comments? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Board member updates. Anybody have any updates?
I think the absence of emails and text messages was very telling of what a smooth start we had to the school year. So,
Yes.
congratulations.
Thank you.
Kudos.
Much appreciated. A lot of hard work goes into that.
We'll do a commercial for free swim lessons. It's for our kindergarten, second grade at the Aquatic Center. And this is on our community bulletin board on our site, so if anybody wants to. I just think it's great that little Tice can learn how to swim, so I wanted to do the commercial. I know it's okay, I did it. I'll move on. Anybody else have any updates? Okay. Personnel matters.
Okay, first is our regular personnel list. I have no changes. With that said, superintendent recommends that the board approve the personnel list as presented to you this evening.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All of them? Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries. New positions.
Okay, I do bring two positions to you this evening for your approval. First is a new professional position. This is a preschool special needs teacher. It's a 200-day position, full-time. That will be +1 for the county. And in addition to that, to accompany that, I bring to you a new service position needing your approval. This is for an ECAT 2/aide for pre-K 200 days full-time, and again, this will be +1 for the county. Superintendent recommends that the board approve those 2 new positions.
So moved.
On our
Wait a minute, let's get,
paper, it says +2.
That's a mistake.
Okay.
+1.
We're only going to need one.
Yeah,
Okay.
One set.
originally we thought we
Yeah.
might need 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm correcting that.
so we have a motion, I need a second.
Second.
Okay. Now we have discussion.
Sorry,
That's all right. That's all right.
jumped the gun.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, no other discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, the same. Motion carries. The addendum.
Okay, and lastly, under personnel, I present to you our addendum for this evening. There are no changes to the personnel addendum. Superintendent recommends that the board approve as presented.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Sean second. Sean moved. Jen second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, the same. Motion carries. And I think you might make it to the game.
Can we clarify about our next board meeting?
Yes, your next board meeting is the same time on Tuesday, the 24th. And this is your scheduled legislative dinner meeting. So we will begin at 5 o'clock with dinner. The regular business meeting will follow. Now, we have explained to the legislators that we have invited, which we have invited our whole slate of current legislators
And candidates.
who are currently serving and legislators who are on the ballot in upcoming November for position. And we're still collecting those names as to who will be present. We'll let you know that in advance. We did send out an invitation, Teresa did, and she also prefaced and explained that the format for this is not necessarily expected to be a dialogue give and take. This is the Board of Education's opportunity to explain their concerns to the legislators and to ask questions of the legislators if they choose to do so.
Is this in lieu of what we've done in the past in December?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. Remember, we talked about it, the fact that
Too
really
late to
what we found out is by December, it's too late because legislators have already written their legislation that they'll be working on for the upcoming session. So early fall would be the right time to get to them. And this is in advance of the election as well. So if there's any new people that actually become elected, you all will have the chance to engage with them at the meeting.
Thank you.
Originally, we started this all to not necessarily preach to them, but we just wanted to tell them this is what's important to Mon County. So if it comes across your desk, they'll have some idea of what the background is. Because we never wanted them to feel pressured like we're going to banter them back and forth. We're just here to tell them what's important to us and
Gotcha.
move on. And it's worked well in the past. So, and hopefully they won't feel so intimidated to come and have us beat them up.
Thank you.
Any other comments?
Can I just ask a quick question? I know bus drivers have always been an issue that we've tried to get help with, and I haven't heard a lot of bus shortage this year. Is that better this year?
It's
We're
a
better.
little better, but we're still
Still need bus
certainly in need of bus drivers. We're in a little better shape than we were at this point last year, but we're certainly not where we want to be.
Thank you.
Is there any idea as to why we're in a little better shape? I'll throw that to Dawn. Is there?
Well, we are overall, we have seen an increase in applicants in every level, which has not been the case for the last 2 years. So whether it's in teaching or whether it's in any of the service sectors, now some are slower than others, but I've certainly noticed it with our professional staff and more applicants, more interest in working in Monongalia County, which everyone would know is a great place to work. So, but also that is across the board. And there are some of our categories that are we're still struggling to attract enough people.
And one of those areas, which we identified a couple of years ago, was the ECAT aid category, because of the fact that are required now to have an aide in every first and second grade classroom, it really has diminished our pool of aides. Now, Jennifer works constantly in trying to recruit and train and get these people ready to go. We're hiring aides right now off the street. They're not sitting on a list. We're hiring them. They're going directly into positions. And again, as a reminder, I see absenteeism every day. Aides are our biggest area of absenteeism. Today, we probably hit double digits for probably the third or fourth day in a row as far as empty aide positions. Not where we had a sub, but where we had an absence and we didn't have a substitute. So that is still a big concern, especially in light of the fact that one more year, we have to go first, second, and third grade with an aide. So that's a concern.
Do our kids that come out of the early childhood program come out with ECAT, or did they come out with something different?
They come out with, I think it's their ACDS,
It is.
which qualifies them for the ECAT.
Okay.
Yes.
And then they have to take a test?
They
Is that
do, and Michael Johnston has been opening that up to all high school seniors.
Okay.
And we actually provide them transportation to go to MTech and take the test if they're interested in any of the service categories. And we have had some come right out of high school. I mean, it's a great start to a career.
Right.
To start that early here.
Got a little bit off base there, but we're good. Any other comments? We'll stand adjourned.
Thank you, board members.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gamble.
They want your daughter to laugh.
Yes.
Get over the net.